dumbest character in the entire game. Capcom has kept her intact for a long time and let her just run rampant, and that's a crime against the FGC. It's literally a crime at this point. He's still way too privileged for how little he needs to commit to options in this game. Capcom told us right from the get-go, hey, this game's about commitment, this game's about, making reads.
She can surprise you. She has crazy damage output, really good setups, is strange and effective mobility. What's her weakness?
She doesn't have one. Getting started here, just wanted to let everyone know we're really trying to grow our YouTube channel. Make sure you leave us a thumbs up if you like what we're doing. It really helps support the channel a ton. We super appreciate it. It makes a huge difference. Best way to support the channel right now, thumbs up please, on YouTube. So
yes, do that first. Okay, now that you've done that, we are finishing our Street Fighter V Season 5 pre-Luke tier list. And we've done 3 videos already. In each video, we've kind of ordered 11 characters. And now we are in our final segment, our final quarter here. It's the top 11. So if you haven't seen those other ones, go back, check them out, at least to see what we've come up with thus far. And we have put these tier lists together independent of one another, so we are revealing them live to each other for the first time as we go through them here. So
John, you show me yours, I'll show you mine. So.
No, that's the whole point, is we're not showing ours to each other. We're showing them to the internet. And so number 11 overall, I have Seth. And I guess I know, because I've been paying attention thus far and I watched the previous videos, that you've got Seth in this section too. Where'd you put Seth?
Yes, I do. I got Seth at 8th.
Ah, that's where I put Balrog. Okay. So anyways, Seth has a lot of tools in a lot of situations, the least of which is not her. I've been saying him for forever, and now I'm saying her. I guess we got to go with they, huh? Seth is able to rush you down, not as effectively as they were used to be able to, but still just tools across the board. You want a 3-frame, you want good combos, you want good mix-ups, especially with that V-Trigger 2. Now, V-Trigger 2 actually is kind of the thing that didn't let Seth fall farther than he did. But I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. What do you think of Seth?
Very similar, a beast of a rushdown character, previously known as like the ultimate pocket character, where everyone had an alternative Seth they pick up at a moment's notice. Character's still strong, very clearly from where we both have them. Just quite a bit less than the prior years in terms of like their utility.
Yeah, so, they had busted stuff that didn't make any sense. It's like, oh, I got a forward throw and my reward is amazing pressure afterwards in scenarios. Yeah. It's like things like that. The axe kick, of course, being what it was. It's been nerfed at this point. So now it's like Seth has to rely on a lot more solidness as opposed to just, oh, I got this good situation. Let me dial in the code for the follow-ups to this and it'll probably go in my direction. That V-Trigger 2 is relatively hard to use, and it can still be dealt with V-Shift in certain scenarios, but you got to do it like halfway through the mix-up, stuff like that, as opposed to just like straight off the bat. At first, I thought V-Trigger 2 was going to make Seth one of the best characters in the game. It hasn't come to fruition that way, I think for the better. All around solid, good tools, but not at least as brain dead as they used to be, and low life kind of is a pretty big weakness for the character. Yep. But it's hard to count this character out. So and regardless, you could use the other V-Trigger as well and still get a lot, just more damage off of your hits. And so Seth's got it almost all, but not quite enough, just outside of the top 10 for me.
Yeah, I was really happy to see Capcom nerf a lot of their tools, and then their health and stun got nerfed as well. But they just have overwhelmingly deadly offense and just a bountiful amount of mix-ups. And those things are really good in the meta of Street Fighter V. This is, if you have those tools and those tools are really strong, you're probably a top tier character in this. And Seth is still, they are not as popular as they once were, but the king, they, them, the king, they're still a very common sight in tournaments, and they're a threat to win any event you find them in. It's like, yep, this is a pretty darn good character. So,
All right, who do you have up next?
At number 11, I had Urian. And this might be lower than a lot of people think that he should be, but the bottom line is a lot of people have not abandoned this character, but definitely went away from him. Can
we talk about Urian when he pops up for me?
Yeah, let's do it.
So. All right, because I have Urian higher than number 11. Right. Number 10, who you got?
I got Akuma.
All right, let's talk Akuma. I have Akuma at number 5.
All right.
People are
Th-
saying Akuma's down in like the mid low
no,
tier
no way.
now.
Yeah, no freaking way. Those are all Akuma players tier lists. We know that for sure. So, anyway, thank goodness Capcom knocked this guy down many spots. And the addition of V Shift definitely hurt him as well. Thank goodness, because he was previously able to just kind of put stuff on screen and like, hey, let me go make a sandwich. Come back. Did it hit? Great. I can combo into it. I'm good to go. Now when he tries to put those very obvious, things on screen and just make you block him for days, you can V shift out of them. There's, that's one of the options that you have, and just taking that away from him is so nice. But he's still a menace with extremely high damage, great options, like a plethora of safe setup and moves. It's just,
He's got the
eh,
footsies, he's got the walk speed, he's got the gimmicks, he's got the damage output, he's got the setups, he's got the V trigger. Uh, he just doesn't got the life. And
yeah,
historically speaking, it's like that's a good trade-off in Street Fighter. It's like you don't need the life if you if you never get hit because you're
yep,
always the one doing the hitting.
yep,
And I do think he's been reduced a good bit. We used to have him as probably matter of fact number one. Now he's fifth, and for you he's what do you say
10th.
10th?
Yeah,
So still
yeah.
top 10. But yeah, he's super solid. Akuma's bench always runs deep, and we saw this in Street Fighter 4 where they nerfed him because he was probably the best in the game, and especially like on paper, everyone's like he's just been completely neutered. He'll never be a top 10, and it's like well, sure enough, he ekes back up there. He's still performing in tournament things along those lines. We lost Tokido as an Akuma main. He's doing the Urian thing now, so we don't have
Mhm.
that to go off of. But still, man, like the character is very prominent online. You can see his advantages just in the first few seconds of any match when you start to play against him. You're like, oh, it's easy mode for Akuma in so many different ways. And so sure, he's been filed down a bit. He's one of those characters that it's okay that he's in the top 10 because of his history as a character. It's like, yeah, he's one of the most powerful. He probably should be there. He's still he could probably get hit with a few more nerfs and we would all just be just fine.
Yep.
And yeah.
Yep, hit him further. I'd love to see it. So yeah, to me, this is a character you can study top player footage, and then put 2 hours of training mode practice into him, and you probably can get to diamond ranked without issue. So that he's still that bad, but at least he's not just insane. So I'm happy he's at the 10th spot. Maybe he's higher, maybe he's lower. I'm certainly not buying him being mid tier. He's still one of the best characters in the game. And if you don't believe it, just go into training mode for 3 seconds and you'll be like, oh, yep, he's still great.
Hmm. Where did you put Lucia?
Lucia, I had her at 23rd overall.
Yeah, people put her in the non-relevant tier. They put her really low down. You put her relatively high, I think,
She's
for most
good.
people do. But
Yeah.
I did a segment ways back that said I think Lucia is a top 10 secret character. There's a lot of explanation there. I won't go into as much detail here, but I put her at number 10 overall. Now, I did that partially because I made that claim and I'm a man of my word. We have not seen evidence of Lucia as far as tournaments go performing. I have a decent bit of experience against her and have picked her apart and have examined her. I've examined Street Fighter V as a whole, what's good in it, what's not. I think she has absolutely amazing neutral, amazing hit confirms, and ridiculous amounts of damage. It is still something of a conundrum to me as to why more people haven't seen that and taken advantage of it. I think that Karen, for instance, has always been one of the absolute matter of fact best, no matter what nerfs she's gone through, because of what she's good at. And it's footsies and hit confirms, and she's got some walk speed and some hitboxes to go along with that. Lucia has that in spades, and like again, she doesn't have the results, and I couldn't find a tier list that placed her much higher than like top 30 or something like that.
Mm.
But I do think that Lucia has the sauce to be good in this game, has the damage output, has the she can zone you too, by the way. She has a fireball game that's kind of crazy and goofy, and take advantage of it. It's more than just getting hit by that fireball. If she anti-airs you with the fireball, she can run up behind it and kick you with her up kicks, stuff like that. She's got ways to tack on damage for days. Like she's technical. She requires some study. She's not easy to play by any means, but I would say that characters that are harder to play have been investigated, and yet she still hasn't been investigated or discovered in this way. So I hear you. I hear you, everybody. You don't have to leave the mean comment that you're leaving right now. I'm sure you will anyway. But I'm gonna put Lucia at number 10, and That's the
Now,
way it is.
it sounded like you were a little bit maybe wanting to, you're a man of your word. Do you, if you had to do it all over again, would you still have her in the top 10 or?
Well, okay, so some of these characters, like for Falk, I said, or sorry, not for Falk, but for like some of the characters in the lowest tiers, I'm like, yeah, there's some sauce for him, like Sagat, I put really low down, but like we've never seen him really perform in tournament, and that's what's
Mhm.
holding him back. Well, I mean, I got to give some of that to Lucia. This is the one character where I'm like, guys, I really think I know better than the majority, and maybe I'm wrong because a lot of the times the people that come out as that are wrong. I'll die on this hill. Fair enough.
Okay.
And I also acknowledge that we probably won't ever see. If we haven't seen it by now, we probably won't ever see it. Where she comes in and sees this potential that I see in her. But dude, she has an answer for everything. She's really good at some of the stuff that is most important. Her rush down's crazy. Her hit confirms are very doable and very powerful. I don't know why, but she's not loved by the community. But I think she's great.
Yeah, this is a matchup, in my opinion, you're going to lose and lose very hard if you don't know what you're doing. You give Lucia space, and she's going to put a few things out on screen you do not want to be there, like her fireballs. You get too close, and that's right where she wants you to be. And the community really loved this character when she was first released, and then they fell out of love with her like a few months afterwards. And it seems like everyone's kind of got the PTSD from picking her up initially, and don't want to pick her back up again because it's like, well, I give it a shot, like, and I tried, screw her, but she got a lot of really good buffs. Capcom improved her combos, her damage, and then her reach, and all this other kind of stuff. Like, they really, if you liked this character before, you should give her another look at it because she is definitely better than she's ever been. But as you said, the problem holding back is tournament results, and and the other thing I can see is like she's strong at rushdown, but there's other characters who are better at rushdown than she is. So she has tools for everything, but I don't know if those tools are necessarily S tier, any of them. That's kind of where I have Lucia at 23rd. I can't get behind put her in the top 10 because I don't think she's got that S tier level of tools that some of these other characters we're talking about just have. But just because she's not S tier doesn't mean she's not pretty darn strong, and a 23rd overall character, that's pretty good. Anyone in the top 25 range in this game is pretty darn solid.
Thanks for saying nice things.
Oh yeah, dude, I like Lucia, man. Shouts to Thrasher and the other people that Sevliv or whatever his name is that play Lucia. It's like this character is really underappreciated by our community, and there's so many people out there who, if we can get them to stop picking Cami, would probably love going to Lucia and finding some really good stuff with her. So,
support for the EventHubs podcast is brought to you by Manscaped today, which offers precision engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped has just launched their 4th generation trimmer, the Lawnmower 4.0, and we have an exclusive offer for you today. If you go to manscaped.com, you will get 20% off and free shipping and handling if you use the checkout code EHubsPod when you check out. 20% off, free shipping and handling, and it lets them know that we sent you, and that's a really important part of the process.
Yeah. Manscaped was actually kind enough to send us both the Perfect Package 4.0, which includes not only the Lawnmower 4.0, but also the Crop Preserver, which is an anti-chafing ball deodorant, and the Crop Reviver, which is a ball spray toner. Both of these do wonders below the belt, leaving you feeling comfortable and looking confident. We need to look confident, John, and also smell like you care. And you know what, John? I tried this out with a wife last night, and she liked it.
Ooh.
So if you're trying to please the ladies, this worked on my lovely wife.
We know that the FGC doesn't exactly have the best resume, the best track record, the best perception, let's say, when it comes to hygiene. Well, fair enough. Let's start today. We have an opportunity. We can take a high quality product, and I've been using it. I've been using all of these. I deem them high quality. John, are they high quality?
No, they're great. They're
absolutely
great.
20% off, free shipping and handling, and we can begin dismantling a stereotype with the Lawnmower 4.0 and its accompanying ball products. One of the things I wanted to point out about the Lawnmower is it has a ceramic blade, which means less snags, less catching, less cuts, stuff like that. And when you're trimming your balls, that's like one of the most important parts about it. It also has a 4000K LED light, so you can see exactly what you're doing no matter how deep and dark you've allowed your pube pores to grow.
That light is amazing. It is so nice to have. I never knew I needed it until I tried this, and now I'm like, I'm never using anything else without that light on there because it's a ball saver. Also, Manscaped's going to take really good care of our audience out there because they can get 20% off.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, hey, it's a good deal. Just use that code EHubsPod at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. Again, just punch in that code EHubsPod, unlock your confidence, and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped.
Balls. Who you got up next?
Well, it depends on where you want to go because I have Urian and I'd love to discuss him.
We're talking about Urian later. Who's your?
You know
So we
Urian
talked
later?
about your number 10.
We talked about 10 was Akuma, 9
Your
was M.
9.
Bison, Seth was
Oh,
8,
okay.
7
Oh
was
wow,
Zeku.
so we've got a lot of yours. Okay, so
yeah.
I'll do my number 9, Guile. Where do you have
Okay.
Guile?
I have Guile second.
Ooh, you are afraid of the Guile.
Oh, Guile is so
Tell me why
good.
Guile is number 2.
Results. We talk about tournament results, and we talk about people making an impact at at the highest levels. Guile is a poster child for that, and yet he somehow avoided heavy scrutiny, probably because maybe COVID-19 throwing a bunch of wrenches in terms of how our community looks at competitive fighting games. But every tournament that you see that has the upper echelon of talent in it, you're usually going to find a Guile player in there, and it's like, okay, this is a very, very strong character in this version of the game. I think V-Shift is a major addition for this character, makes him quite a bit better. His core strategy, the chucking the booms and doing the flash kicks, that's very hard for a number of characters to deal with in this game. And right there, that gives him a big string of advantage matchups, which makes him high tier, makes him top tier, and so right off that bat, it's like, if you're going to make a case based on matchups alone, for any character in this game, I have a tough time seeing why Guile isn't very far up the list, in my opinion.
You could have just said Daigo, and I'd have been like, yeah, because Daigo has faith in him. Daigo performs with him. Such a solid character and able to play the zoning game effectively, but doesn't have to play the zoning game. Can play the mid-range pokey footsie sort of game, and has some really good stuff up close. Damage output is there. Does he have any terrible matchups off the top of your head?
He has a few. I wouldn't call him terrible, but he definitely has the 4/6s and other things that just some people are able to kind of zone him. I know a lot of Guile players do not like the Monot matchup. It just kind of depends on the player. But when you can outzone Guile, he's not as good. He's definitely not as good.
Yeah. I mean, you have my number 2 at
Number 2.
I don't know that I've
so
had
good.
the evidence to because I think there are better characters, is I guess my evidence, but he's really good. He goes up there, he goes hard. I'll give you that. So Guile was my number 9, and my number 8 was Balrog. We already had your number 8 was Seth. Number 7. Have we said your number 7 yet?
Zeku on my end.
I had Colleen. Where do you have Colleen?
I have Colleen at number 5.
Oh, okay, so pretty close. I actually had her, I think, at number 5 to start with, and I eked her down a little bit. But man, okay, so maybe not the perfect character, but she is different and weird, moves in weird, confusing and surprising angles and such, and is really solid on the ground, is really solid on offense, has that goofy counter that does too much damage to make you kind of afraid of her on defense. And
John, it's not even just the damage that the counter does, it's the Okazemi she gets afterwards. Yeah, she it's like, oh, I'm losing. Oh, guess what? I ain't losing no more, and now I have a huge advantage on you. And it is just the momentum shift from that counter. Yeah, she can get blown up for it, but oh, it's so good.
You got that V trigger too, and she's got results. Nephew has been wrecking shop with Colleen, has he not?
Yep, he's been doing great.
He won. Did he win both of the North America West events this year, or maybe he won this one and then one last year? I don't know. He's been going crazy with the character, and I run into for me it's MX Gus. I think he's a Mexican Colleen player, but he's in my area. Really good. Also doesn't rematch if you beat him, which is a pretty weak character kind of move, but that's fair. You have the option to do that.
John,
But
do we need a new segment? Bitch ass
no,
Walt
no.
rematchers or something like that? So
I acknowledge them. They're not on the level of the rage quitters, not by far, and I don't want to put them in the same group. But it's certainly like you're the kid that takes his ball and leaves almost when things aren't going your way. But anyways, Colleen, she has and that V trigger 2 is like all of a sudden it doesn't matter what range she's at. She's got really good pokes, but then she can like just slip up to you and do a low forward or a low like a standing light kick, I think it is. She can surprise you. She has crazy damage output, really good setups. It is strange and effective mobility. What's her weakness?
she doesn't have one. It's pretty much she's kind of like Chun-Li, where she can do everything. And what I would say with Colleen is that for the most part, she doesn't have any S tier tools except for her footsie. She
What
has
about V
some of the
trigger?
best footsies in the game. V Trigger 2 is an exception too. So
Okay.
and that's how come she's both very high up there on our list. It's for the most part, like those are two very strong strengths, and then like her weaknesses are just doesn't have much. And I considered putting her up even further than fifth, and I had her there for a little while, but I did look at some of the tournament results, and there's not as many people placing with Colleen as I kind of suspected initially. But as you say, Nephew's one of them. There's a few players in Japan doing very well, and a few others around the globe. But she doesn't have the hardcore representation that some of the other characters have, and nor the history to fall back on.
Mhm. Who do you have at number 6?
Number 6, I have Rasheed.
Oh, we lined up
We're
again.
lined up on Rasheed. Okay, cool. The bane of a lot of people's existences in Street Fighter V. This guy has had some of the most lopsided matchups in the entire game. Depending on who you play, that still might be the case too. And thank goodness Capcom decided to tone him down after 7,000 Rasheeds placed in Capcom Cup, because this
Toned
guy
him
is
down to 6th.
Yes. He's still way too privileged for how little he needs to commit to options in this game. Capcom told us right from the get-go, hey, this game's about commitment. This game's about, making reads, except for Rasheed. They didn't include that part when we were talking to him. They should have said except for Rasheed. Look, he's not the sore thumb he once was. And I hope Capcom takes another look at this guy and still adjust him down for his damage, and then the rewards that he gets for what he does. I just tweak that stuff a little bit more, because damn it, it's still too much. And I get his, usage outside of, pro players is lower, all this other kind of stuff. But this is a game based around risk and reward, and you have a character who so heavily eschews that principle the game is built on. That's a bad look. So
Mhm.
look, it makes him really good overall. It's why I have him at 6th. But yeah, I'd like to see a few more tweaks done to this character just because of the way he plays.
Yeah, I don't see many weaknesses with him. He's got, I guess, slightly below average health, but he was a character that was busted, ridiculously busted, on top of being solid. They got rid of some of his busted stuff, but you can still see how solid he is. Like when he does his down forward heavy punch, does this, like, well, I should do it for the this. It's like you can almost see that hitbox and how powerful it is, and how much benefit he gets off of using that as a poke, and when it actually makes contact, his mobility and his ability to spring at you with crazy stuff and relatively safe stuff is still there. His damage output's really good. His corner game is really good. They nerfed his ability to jump off of the wall and such, so it's not as good. So that's really nice. So which takes him out of like the top 1 or 2. But I guess basically they gave him a little bit of a buzz cut, but he's still just on such a solid foundation that it's hard to knock him out of still being one of the absolute best in the game. So that's why I put him at 6th.
Yeah, that movie, it reminds me of the movie Signs with Joaquin Phoenix and Mel Gibson. And Joaquin Phoenix in there is a baseball player, and he's infamous for striking
Swing
out.
away.
Swing away, baby, Rasheed, swing away. And just I know like UFOs or whatever have been out in the news and stuff like that. Just a heads up for everyone: aliens, according to M. Night Shyamalan, are weak to water and baseball bats. So if we ever need to defend ourselves, just get plenty of water and baseball bats, we'll be set. Oh,
Did
spoilers.
you just spoil Science for everybody?
I did.
One of the
I'm
few
matured.
good M. Night Shyamalan movies. Comment on if... no, I'm not even... All right, number 5 for me was Akuma. Who was number 5 for you?
Number 5, I had Colleen.
Colleen. Number 4.
I have Poison.
Poison, we land up again.
Yeah,
Ding, ding, ding.
Okay. All right. Look, it's proof that you can zone and cause havoc in Street Fighter V is what Poison is. Poison is a monster in some matchups for characters who don't have consistent ways around zoning in general, right? But when she builds resources, some of her combos almost seem still unfair with the amount of damage that she does. It's like, oh, am I playing against Zangief? All of a sudden, Zangief who zones. It's like, yeah, it kind of feels like that way. However, this is all hidden behind a very high execution wall and a gameplay wall that very few players have ever managed to climb. Yes, Poison is technically capable of ridiculous stuff, but you also have to look at how few pro players have actually successfully tapped into these things. It is freaking hard to do with this character and hard to do it consistently. So that's the main reason I didn't have Poison higher than number 4. There's a certain point of view of, yes, she's capable of a ton more, but can you consistently access that stuff and win at the highest levels? And the answer has been no. Unless your name is Idom or Fudo or a few others, no, not many people have been able to ring that bell.
Also, is she a main character, or is she like a really good secondary?
Yeah. No, she's a main character for a number of people. Fudo mainly mains her now. I don't know if Idom is more of a Poison main or Laura. He's like really 50-50, it seems like a lot. But there are a handful of other people who main Poison and do really well with her. But you do probably want an alt for her.
I feel like she's really, really, really good mid-range and really frustrating there for a lot of people. And probably in certain matchups just like breaks the game.
Yep.
Something like that. So her highs are really high and her lows are not that low.
Yeah.
So like, what's her weakness? I don't know. Like, maybe if you get in on her.
It's her weakness is if her zoning doesn't work very well, she doesn't have a lot to fall back on. And that's how come I think you see a lot of the alts come out with Poison, because it's like, man, yeah, this matchup's not that great for her. Now, keep in mind, not that great is probably like a 4-6. I don't know if she's got too many 3-7s in there where she's really heavily disadvantaged, because how the heck is she getting in the top 5 for a lot of people?
Everybody puts her so high. Her and Rasheed. That was a big part of this for me too, was that like so many other tier lists that have come out with respected names put these characters so high up. It's like I gotta factor that in. So even if I haven't felt the wrath of Poison because I haven't played against Fudo or Idom or players of that caliber with her, it's like you can't just, like, too many players are like, this character is a problem. This character is really strong, to ignore that. So
and one of the things about it is when you do play against Fudo or Idom and you see the stuff they are doing consistently, this character feels unfair. That is how much potential she's running around with, but man, hard to get that potential going. Really hard. So
there's a chance that we have a couple of similar picks in a row here. Who's your number 3?
Number 3, I have Karen.
Dude, that's another one. Ding ding.
Okay.
Karen, I feel, and I've said this before, the way she's built, the way she can play neutral, and the benefits that she gets off of successful hit confirms and the follow-ups thereafter, it just make her a powerful character at her very core. She works really well in this game. I know she has some problems with, like, against Manat, things like that, where she might be able to get zoned out, but like, Karen's just so solid. It's such an obvious and fundamental level that it's like she requires some skill. She requires the hit confirms, but we've seen that brought out by Punk and many others too. Like, no one to the degree that Punk has, but we've seen this character be really strong in the hands of so many people, and we've seen her, like, I don't know that anyone was as dominant with any other character the way that Punk was dominant with her, but that was back in like season 2 or so maybe not exactly relevant to where she is right now. But how much has she changed since then? I don't think a ton.
Yeah, and that's the main place I go with this, is that how quickly we've forgotten about one of the most successful characters in the history of Street Fighter V. Numerous pros dropped Karen to pick up and experiment with other characters, and it makes sense. Like, Karen hasn't had a lot of new stuff added to her, and you want to get familiar with those other characters for when you encounter them, right? You want to play as them and kind of know. But look, as the CPT comes to a close, you're starting to see the Karen army return and come back in full force. Let me get my Karen in great shape. Let me underhype, how good she is and all that other kind of stuff. We've seen it plenty. But when the chips are down, when you're playing for $250,000, you know how many Karens you're going to see? A lot. And just, it's not going to take those. So Anyway, yeah, there's been a few short moments in time, throughout Street Fighter Five where Karen was not a major presence in tournament, right? But those moments are few and far between. She's coming back. Don't be
I
fooled
think
by the
she's the
random picks.
winningest character too. I think she's won the
Yeah,
most CPT events.
her and Mika are like really far up there. But don't be fooled by the random picks of Dan and other crap. Like when it comes down to it, you're gonna see Karen come back, and like that is gonna be happening a lot.
So your number 2 is Guile.
Number 2 is
My
Guile.
number 2 has to be your number 1, which is Cami.
Oh.
I did have Cami at number 1, but I've been doing some. There's this guy named Demon Curse, and he's got a lot of messaging about the YouTube channel and about the front page and such that you can find. It's convinced me that Cami's actually not the best character in the game. So because of Demon Curse's input, I put Cami at number 2. No, not really. It's because I think the number 1 character is better than Cami. But Cami is
John, if you were really
ridiculous.
listening to Demon Curse, you would have Cami at like
40?
33rd overall. Yeah. Most technical character, insane, never wins anything. But sorry, let's get back to your actual number.
Also want to say I appreciate Demon Curse for checking out the
Demon
podcast
Curse
as
is
much
great.
as they do. So anyways, Cami, what to say about her? She's got all the mobility in the world. She's got great footsie. She's got ridiculous damage output. She's got a really good V trigger. She's the queen of just do it. She's got a really good super. It's a 3-framer that can take a go all the way across the screen and gives her Oki after she hits it, because why not? Man, this character is she's easy mode, and the benefits that you get from her are just so high. So it's easy to get really big benefits. And we've talked about her a lot. What else do you have to say about Cami?
Dumbest character in the entire game. Where she's got a ridiculous amount of privilege and opportunity. Capcom has kept her intact for a long time and let her just run rampant, and that's a crime against the FGC. It's literally a crime at this point. It is. This character should have been nerfed properly like 5 times now, yet Capcom inexplicably buffed her a couple of times. It's like, what? Why? Who is like the CEO of Capcom a Cami player? Is that what's going on? Because that would make a lot of sense now at this point. But again, this is maybe the no, let me say it this way. This is definitely the easiest character in the game to play now because of how good she is. And you're keeping her that strong. It's, I think Phenom said it like best, is like, if you almost expect Street Fighter 5 to be in a beta mode for how bad and ridiculous Cami is. Like you expect this the beta version of the game instead of like 5 or 6 years into it now. Look, I would personally love to corner one of Capcom's battle designers and ask them how the hell this character has been kept in the state for such a long time, and watch them sweat. Watch them go, frame data. And it's like there's a simple answer. Maybe there's something out there, but I'm freaking not buying it. I literally think that this is like somehow like they go to nerf Cami and they hit the wrong button and they nerf Fong instead. And it's like, oh, well, okay. it's the only explanation I can
Excellent. Took half of Fong's life away and gave Cami poison abilities. Yeah. So.
I did have Cami at number 1, by the way. It looks like
so I didn't. And if you were able to quantify and go through and you were to argue that Cami's number 1, I wouldn't die on that hill fighting you. She's really, really good. But my number 1 is your number 11, Urian. Urian's just stupid. He's stupid. He's been nerfed, yeah, whatever. But he still has. He requires more nuance than Cami, sure. But the things that he does, it's just like, I feel more comfortable fighting against Cami. I feel like his buttons, maybe that's what it is. His buttons in neutral, the benefits that he gets off of doing them, like his V trigger 1 is still Aegis, guys. Aegis is still here, and I think everybody knows what that means at this point.
John, I have to jump in here. I think I can articulate what you're trying to say here. This guy is a master of random. Knees, tackles, pretty much whatever you want to try at any given moment, it's got a chance of working out in your favor. It's like, you don't really have to, like, there's brain dead characters, and Urian definitely falls into that category, but he takes it to a whole nother level because almost every single one of his moves and attacks is a just do it move. You really maybe don't even want to think about what your opponent's doing when you're playing Urian. You just want to do stuff. And that's, I think, why you're so uncomfortable, because you're a very cerebral player. You try to really get in people's heads and other stuff. And Urian is pretty much the antithesis to that, because why would you think when you're playing Urian.
But then you can play him slow. You can like look
Yeah.
what Tokido does with the
Yeah.
character, man. And by the way, Tokido, one of the absolute, arguably best player in the world, but in that conversation, dropped Akuma for this character. That's something else that goes into the he's the best in the game. I just his advantages are so strong. His damage output is so good, and his risk is so low. I don't hate him in the game. I
Hold on, hold
kind
on,
of
hold
hate
on.
him. I just
Could you say that a little bit more with your chest, because I'm not sure. You really don't hate Urian? Are you
I
sure?
I mean, like he's so they've done little things about him, right? Like they've tweaked this is and that's. Like for instance, his EX shoulder tackle now doesn't leave him at a weird distance where he can actually kind of take his turn back. Like he actually has to hold it. So there's that.
Okay. That makes you not hate Urian. I'm
I
not
don't
quite
know. I
buying
guess
that.
talking about him drains the mana out of me like in real
It's
time. He's just so
almost pretty
damn
epic.
good. And so many times Urian players have just like freaked out and did a thing and it beats me. And maybe
Yeah.
it's just me. I don't think it's just me though,
No, it's not
guys.
just you. Yeah.
And I play against Cami players that are like warlords and what is that? SP Wesker, I think his name is. I have fun in those matches. I like and I can deal with Cami, and I've had just as much a few months difference of experience against Cami than against Urian. But point is, I lab both of these characters heavily. I feel like Cami has some really good stuff and she gets away with it, but I can kind of corral her and I can kind of play that. I can't do that crap against Urian. It's like if I'm standing at the right distance to counter A, he goes to B and B goes to C, and it's like I beat him sometimes for sure. Like it's not like he just wins outright, but like the character has so much advantage, so much privilege. You can disagree that he's not the best in the game. Fair enough. I fine. But for me, when I think just like pound for pound, ability, advantages, Urian takes it for me.
Yeah. He's pretty good from most spots on screen. Like it's hard to find a spot on screen where Urian's not good at, and he's at his best once he's picked up, several resources, right? And then you try to navigate his minefield because you're like, oh, okay, well, like he's starting to charge up his fireball, he's starting to do this and that. Let me try to get in on him. Oh, EX tackle. Oh, random knees. Random. It's like, okay, yeah, I do really think that Capcom knocked him down a few spots in season 5, but at this point in time, like Urian's also so well documented that most of his weaknesses aren't that weak. The pendulum has swung around because it's like, okay, yeah, he does not have a 3-frame normal. He has a very baitable EX reversal. Most players know that, and they've figured out how to get around his weaknesses so well that it's just like it's pretty much like, okay, everyone kind of knows what Urian is about to, what options he has, but I'm just going to kind of play him random and do stuff, and I'll probably do pretty well. And he's really, I think at this point in time, the most random character in the entire game. And if you are susceptible to random, he's got to be just disgusting character to face. I play Monat and Rose, and they're not too susceptible to random. And so for me, I just kind of sit back and go, okay, why don't you just go ahead and do some random stuff, and I'll push you back so you can do more random stuff, and eventually you will actually overcommit. Like on your 17th move that you've done in a row will finally be an overcommitment, and I can blow you up for that. That's kind of how I look at Urian, but I think I can weather the storm a little better than most of your characters
I
can.
think he's a
So
mean man.
yes.
All right, guys. So that's that does it for us, right? You've said all the
That's
characters. I've
everything.
said all my characters. So there it is. You guys can check it out. We'll have it here, very obviously in front of you. I put both of our tier lists up here, but let us know where you agree, where you disagree. Demon Curse. I'm interested to see where you put Cami on the tier list now. And thank you guys for checking it out. Like, comment, subscribe, tell your mom, and we'll be back with you next time.